tackle everybody with the, oh, there it goes. It gave me an error message the first time. Just off of people's road through the bottom. We're tackling.
Yeah.
Surrounded by bush.
Does he have lots of people in here?
Well, everybody with the, oh, there it goes. It gave me an error message the first time. Okay, we are all set, Nicole. Everybody should have got a message that live stream started.
All right, so I am calling the meeting to order at 12:03. So I would like to acknowledge with respect that we are in Robertson Huron Treaty Territory, that the land on which we are gathered is the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe and known as Bowading. Bowading is the home of Garden River First Nation, Batchewana First Nation, and the historic Métis Council. All right, so our first order of business is the adoption of the minutes. Has everyone had a chance to review them? Is there any changes or any issues with them? All right, so if there are no issues, can I have a mover to resolve that the minutes be accepted?
I can move it.
Okay, and seconded by
I'll second that.
Alex. Okay, sorry, Sarah. And then any declaration of pecuniary interests? Nope. Okay. And then we have the adoption of the agenda. I did just want to add one thing in, just under business arising, to talk about the museum bell. So we could, do we want to add that in before or after the Wampanoag Monument?
I updated the resolution, so it will read resolved that the agenda for the Municipal Heritage Committee meeting for November 1st, 2023, as amended, with the addition of 5.2 museum bell, be approved.
Perfect. Okay, and is there any other additions, questions, comments, concerns with the agenda? If not, can I have a motion to adopt? Sarah, and seconded by? Is that Angela?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so business arising, we have the Wampanoag Monument, the post-grant report. So you can see that attached in the agenda package. So I know, Alex, you had some questions about that. Did you want to discuss it? Are you there, Alex?
Oh my goodness, sorry. Can you repeat that?
Yeah, so we're talking about the Wampanoag Monument. I know you had some questions about that.
Yeah, no, I don't, we talked about that. Virginia said the money's been allotted, and I did get a chance to go up and look at it. And in my opinion, it's just, I don't understand the value, what the costs were. Because as you know, Nicole, you and I know what mortar works for similar prices.
Yeah.
Remember how much mortar we saw that had to be done to a heritage code. And I just felt like the Wabanush Monument didn't quite equal the similar value for what they'd done.
Mhm.
But I think it's neither here nor there. We've already approved it. So,
Mhm.
And just this grant, just for some background information for the committee members, this grant was approved during 2022. So before this committee was formed, as part of their application at that point, they did receive quotes. They went with the low quote. So it was also cleaning of the lettering and the plaque in addition to the stone repairs. They had originally requested the 3,000, and at that point, the committee approved 75% of that, which was 2,200. And that resolution was passed by the committee, and then that was then taken, because it requires council approval, a report to council, and then they approved the $2,200 for the work. It doesn't come out of the current allocation. It was set aside in 2022, and it's been held until completion of this project.
Okay.
okay, yeah. So I'm just thinking in the future, just making sure, that doesn't happen again. How can we, I'm just looking for learning points. Like, I'm just where I know the quotes were there. It just seems like, I don't know, the value. I'm trying to say this diplomatically and I need help.
Well, I think every committee, anytime a grant application comes before the committee has the opportunity to assess the quotes, assess the work that's being proposed, and then make recommendations on the amount that's being approved. We recently, I believe this committee went through that process when we were looking at so that is brought forward. So the committee does have the opportunity to weigh at those points and make recommendations based off of your assessment of the application of the quotes.
Yeah, Virginia, that was well put. Awesome. Thank you. Okay, so it just sounds like what I understand is we can make recommendations to council and our committee based on the work that's been done, right?
Correct, yeah. So this one just happened to cross over from the previous committee to the new committee based on, they had originally hoped to get the work completed earlier in 2022, but there was delays with the contractors being able to complete the work, and then it's weather sensitive, so it has to be pushed to 2023.
Right. So with similar work like on the Algonquin project, we had the mortar inspected, and then our recommendation was that we did give approval, right, for that set amount. So it's just what I'm understanding is that didn't happen because there was a delay on the project, but we had already approved the funds. Okay, I get it.
The previous committee did do the review of the photos and looked at like where the spots were crumbling, because there was some chiseling that had to happen out to put in the new mortar and reset some of the stones. And then also the cleaning of the plaque and the area around it. So they did complete all those mortar repairs as they had originally presented. So they're consistent with the work that they said they were originally going to do to where they are now. And the quotes are pretty comparable to what they received at the time of approval of the grant.
Okay, I'm fine with that. Thank you.
All right. And
Right, just Nicole, we need a motion.
Okay.
So that I can release the funds and pay out the grant. So it would be resolved that the Municipal Heritage Committee approve a grant in the amount of $2,200 for the work completed on the Wabanush Monument.
Okay, perfect. So can I have someone approve that motion? Maddie, perfect. And a seconder.
I'll second.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. And then all in favor?
Yep.
Perfect. All right, and now moving on to 5.2 with the museum bell. So there was just a couple things that I wanted to sort of clarify. And so after the meeting, Will had wanted to come, but he's just so busy at the museum right now. But with the bell, it's sort of jointly owned by the museum and the Municipal Heritage Committee and sort of like the city. So it sort of falls under both of us to take care of it and protect it. And now when we had talked about installing the bell at the museum in the garden, because the gardens and like sort of like the museum itself is like city property, does the bell fall under the insurance of the city? That way, can the cost of repair fall under the insurance? That was one of Will's questions, because when we had talked about installing it, I know, Virginia, you had asked legal and they did say that it would fall under insurance, that of caution
Sorry, you're cutting,
approved.
we're only getting every second word.
Sorry. Would the cost of the repairs on the bell be covered under the insurance because it's on city property?
Yeah, I did have a chance to talk to staff, and our deductible would, it's not like, it wouldn't be worth going through insurance to cover it just
Okay.
because of the deductible that we have. I did also talk to finance. It is something that we can submit as part of our capital/asset management process, which that has closed for this year because the budget meeting is coming up in the next month. So that would have to be a request that we submit in 2024 in June for the 2025 year. And we'd have to work on getting additional quotes for the work. The conversation I had with Willie had indicated it would be 20 to 30 days of time for the restoration, as opposed to just the materials that were kind of outlined in the original report. There wasn't an estimate in the report with the time frame to complete the work. So based on that, we're hitting on his estimates close to $10,000, which requires a quotation process from the city.
Okay. So with proceeding forward, because since it is jointly owned by us, Will wasn't sure about just filling out the grant application. So is there another way that he can sort of that we can move forward going and looking at getting the work done?
It would be, the grants generally would pay kind of up to that 3,000 mark for the most part. It would qualify for us to put it through our asset management, but that, again, that would be a 2024 submission for 2025 budget. But we're in the season now for us to make any changes to the submissions for this year's budget. And we wouldn't have any funding allocated to this type of project to cover it off and coming up in the next timeframe.
Question.
Okay.
Hi, okay, can you give me a status on what's happening with the bell currently? Where is it? Does it have spray paint on it? What is going?
Yes, so the bell does have spray paint on it. So what happened was it got tagged the first time, and then the bell was power washed, and the power wash caused damage to the patina. So now there's that patina damage that we have to repair as well. And then it was tagged one more time after that. So there is more spray paint on top of that. And so what we have to do is we have to remove that spray paint, but then now also even out the patina. So the patina is sort of a protective layer that sort of develops on the metal to sort of help protect it from the elements, kind of. It's sort of this natural process that happens when metal is outside. And so when it's damaged and it's uneven, then the bell will start to like damage can grow and can spread and then eat away more so into the porous metal. So you're going to want to even that out and then put a protective coating on it. There's different museum quality sealants we can put on it to protect it. And then another recommendation would be to sort of put some sort of housing around it to protect it from the elements, so snow and rain, but then that house or housing or whatever will also be a barrier to people coming up and damaging the bell. If they do anything to the house, like the little house, it's not an artifact, so it would be easier to repair. And so that way at least the bell would be sort of protected more so, and that's what we're looking at right now. And because the bell is an artifact, it has to be done by a conservator, with someone with the proper training. We do have someone here in the city with that specializes in metal conservation that would be able to do it. Otherwise, we would have to get somebody coming up from Toronto to do the work for us.
Can you remind me why this is an artifact? Like, is it, what's the bell's significance?
So the bell was the original chime bell that was installed in the museum in 1912 at the same time as the clock. So the bell and the clock came together and they worked together as that sort of normal bell with the chime. And so the bell would be that sort of auditory signal for people of the time. So not only would they be able to see the time on the clock, but they would be able to hear it as well. So it was the big, huge sort of visual focal point for the city, and that thing that helped keep the time. Very important, significant part of our history. And it was taken down off the top of the museum in 2016 when we redid the roof. The city kept it for us at that time, and at that time it sort of then became the property of the Municipal Heritage Committee. And after that, we had gone into talks about putting the bell on display, and it was suggested to have the bell in the garden on display so that everybody can see that part of our history.
Is there any discussion about bringing it inside?
There hasn't been. And like I'm not like I there could be. I think at that time Julia, who was our director at that time, and was looking to have it more so outside possibly, but we could look at moving it inside. The conservation work would still have to be done, but then the cost might be reduced because then you don't have to build the housing for it, and you don't have to have as many sort of protective layers on it because it's not outside. So you can use something like a museum wax, which would sort of melt and weather outside, but it would be fine for inside. So the cost of moving it inside might be sort of offset with that. So if we wanted to look at moving it inside, there would sort of be the cost of moving it inside, and then we could also see if the price would be adjusted for like the conservation work.
Would it fit? Would it fit in the doors of the museum?
Yeah.
Okay.
I believe so.
I know it's not a bell.
Yeah.
So. Okay, cause if it was like, we'd start moving, doors or like, you know, doing a lot of significant work to get it inside, then maybe it's not worth thinking about. But if it will fit through the frame of the door, I mean.
Yeah, because when our doors open, there's not that center bar.
Right.
So they would be able to sort of go through, depending on where we want to put it. It should be okay. So then you would just have to go through that discussion of where we would like to like display the bell. And then I'm not sure if the floor would also have to be reinforced. We would just have to look at sort of the weight of the bell and how much that area of the floor could hold.
Maybe this is just something to look into.
Yeah. So we can look it into right now, because obviously we can't do any work on the bell right now as it's outside and covered in snow right now. So we can see if there would be a difference in cost, and then also to the maintenance of the bell would also be different, because it would be inside, protected from the elements, but then also protected from vandalism. So that could be something that we could look at as well, if the Municipal Heritage Committee is okay with us moving it inside.
I just, the only reason I'm suggesting this is because, I've only been through one budget meeting, but it is hard to get things through. And especially given the climate of like, you know, inflation and how things are moving. It would be a hard push to get, you know, any amount of money pushed through right now at this point. So I just want to be cautious of like what we're asking for, and if there are other scenarios where we could, you know, maintain the safety and the history, then and save some money, then perhaps we should look at that as well.
Okay. Yeah, so I'll talk to Will about it and then see if we can draw up some stuff about that. And then we would probably have to get like the city to move it for us, since they were the ones that to install us. They have all the equipment to be able to lift it.
Probably, in my opinion, be a lot easier to get some in-kind work done than dollars from the budget. So just a suggestion.
And we do have a question coming in from someone who's on the phone.
It's Stephanie here.
Okay, hi Steph.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
I like what Ange is proposed. I think that was Ange talking there, what she's proposing in terms of maybe building out some more options, especially as it parlays out of our conversation from last month, in that there's a proposal for that casing. And knowing that there's likely going to be ongoing maintenance, and I think that's probably some of the concern as well. Is it possible to kind of look beyond? I'm just reiterating everything Ange just said, sorry, but like look at it in terms of the options for, like, here's option 1, we keep it outside. Option 2, we move it into the courthouse or courtyard. Option 3, it's bringing it inside. And then it's the pros and cons of doing all that, and the costs and maintenance and kind of ongoing good and bad of all those options. I think that would probably be a lot more, if folks at the Heritage Committee are supportive of that, then maybe the options paper is what we decide. We take that recommendation, and then, you know, someone moves it to council.
Okay.
Because there's a lot of things that were discussed just here and now, dovetailing off of last month's meeting.
Yeah, so I'll bring it all forward, and then I'm not sure if we'll have it for next month's meeting, but like by January we'll have like both options with sort of hopefully There'll be some differences in costs, that one option is a lot better than the other. Okay.
And I think that's where the recommendations, right? You guys will, through your assessment, we can determine what our, recommended options are, or option, and then, however that gets moved forward.
Okay. So any other questions that you would want me to bring forward to Will, so that we have that information for you the next time we present it?
Do you want to just also outline what will happen if we do nothing?
Okay, yes, will do. All right. So no other questions, and we can move on to the subcommittee and task force updates. First off, we have the heritage trees. So we are looking at scheduling a meeting in November to go through the review process and identify trees that might meet the criteria for designation. So I know Virginia, when we sort of had started talking about it, we got a whole bunch of people sending in their like trees, all their information about their trees. So we'll probably have a whole bunch to review.
Yeah, so I'm just, I'll be sending an invite out to the 2 committee members that had volunteered. And they're escaping me right now. I should have wrote them down. And I've also sent out to see when our park staff, Travis Reed, who oversees the parks, and to see who we bring in from our horticulture area to participate. Okay. And then we're also going to be looking at reaching out to somebody at the forestry center area to see if anybody there who's an expert in that.
I do have one person at the bug lab. They're retired now, but they're like a huge tree expert.
Oh, okay. Yeah, if you would like to forward that, it'd be nice to have somebody from their area.
Yeah, perfect.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions about the heritage trees? Nope. Okay, so moving on to new business, we have Heritage Week 2024. So that will take place from February 19th to the 23rd. And so in the past, we had done displays in the station mall. We also sometimes have a setup in the sort of front lobby at the Old Stone House. If anybody has any ideas of what we would like to do for Heritage Week, we could start discussions on that. One year during COVID, we do 3 videos, which can be seen on the Friends of Facebook page, all about Heritage Week. And so if there's any ideas of what we would want to do for Heritage Week for the upcoming year.
They haven't released the theme yet, so I went to the Ontario Heritage Trust to check, but I would anticipate we would know usually by December. They've identified the theme for the coming year.
Okay. So maybe what we can do is maybe start thinking up ideas of what we would want to do. Once we know the theme, if it comes out before our next meeting, we can shoot it out to everybody. But if not, maybe if you want to sort of think of ideas, and then we could table this discussion for the next meeting. Does that sound good? Okay. Any other questions about Heritage Week? I think we are good. Okay. And then 7.2, we have the strategic plan. There are the documents that are attached. So is there any questions about that, or did you have anything to add, Virginia?
Yeah, so I just thought it might be a good idea to have a little bit of a roadmap for 2024. I identified, I kind of broke them into a couple different categories under education, activities around Heritage Week, giving some more information out to, the second point was information out to heritage property owners on property tax rebates, grant programs. I usually do send that out each year when I send out their inspection reports. But continuing on with that, that happens usually end of December, January of each year for the following year, just because any new applicants that want to participate in the property tax rebate program have to submit by February 28th. So I'd like to get that out to give them enough time to consider a submission. Website updates. So I've been working on a lot of the materials that we have on the website and looking at other materials that could be including on the website. The city is going to be going through a process of updating our website. So in preparation for that, and then just to get our materials updated, I've developed and will circulate to the committee the materials, frequently asked questions. So a lot of the questions that I get coming through, so that those FAQ questions can be right on the website. I'm creating a new heritage designation package, looking at improving the heritage permit process and trying to tie that into better into our building divisions, automate like their system so that there's a better direct connection between the two of us. Updating the designated property grant application, property tax rebate applications, looking at developing a worksheet or page for heritage resources for property owners when they're looking at conservation. So just having everything kind of in one spot for those property owners. And requests for heritage status letter form. I'm getting a lot of requests for confirmation from real estate agents and other individuals wanting a status letter. So actually having a better track forward where they submit the form to us every time they're asking for confirmation of heritage status. So that's kind of the website updates I've been picking away at. Again, we would continue on with the Heritage Award program. So advertising will happen in Q2 and the ceremony will be tied in September of 2024. For policy development, we're working on the heritage trees currently and kicking that off. And then under designation and conservation, we went through the process of listing everything on the Heritage Register. I believe when we first had our first meetings, we had discussed some of the changes that came with Bill 23. So we do need to take a look at some of those significant properties that are on the Heritage Register and determine if we want to proceed with designation. So that's something that we need to have a further discussion about. So, and again, this is just a draft. This was up for, it was a starting point for discussion.
I think it all looks great. Does anyone else have any questions, comments about it?
I think you know best. So, yeah.
Yes, Stephanie.
Sorry, I have to press a bunch of buttons here because I'm on the phone here. I was just curious to know if for this coming year, are there any changes that need to be made in relation to the changes to the legislation?
There's more and more information that continues to come out with Bill 23. They recently had a feedback period that just closed in October, where they asked for additional—
Like a consultation period? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, from municipalities. Our planning department compiled information because that incorporates parks and a whole bunch of other pieces within that bill. So that feedbacks went out, but a number of the pieces that there was questions on had already been embedded in the legislation, so I'm not sure if the province is looking at changes or what's gonna come, so. I am kind of monitoring all those changes and what we need to do, like some of the changes that I think we summarized. And I can bring that back to the December meeting, the summary of the changes, but you know, the requirements to designate have increased. We need to meet one of the criteria. So those were some of the major changes that took place, along with properties will fall off the heritage register for 5 years if we aren't moving forward with designation. So we really do need to look at those key properties that are the most significant and determine if we want to proceed or not.
Okay, so really then there's a possibility of work to be done depending on how the consultation goes regarding Bill 23, correct?
Yes, I
Or
think
is there definitive work?
there's changes in the requirements that we have to kind of do internally when we're doing processes, or how we're what we're including in a designation, what we have to include on heritage registers. So I've already incorporated updating the heritage register on the website with the requirements. So those are things that I would continue to work on. If that kind of explains that.
Okay. Is that something that, do you think it's important to capture that on the work plan for us going forward?
Yeah.
Or just like a placeholder, if you will?
No, I think that's a really good point, Stephanie, to have it under kind of that a policy development stage, that, you know, the adjustments that we're going to make to address changes to Bill 23. I'll add that in.
Do we want a motion to adopt the strategic plan?
Got it.
And then a seconder? Maddie, thank you. And then all in favor? Okay. Do you still have a question, Stephanie?
Nope. No, I
Okay.
don't. I'll try to take it down 1 second.
Yeah, that's okay. I just wanted to double check.
Yeah, there we go. Okay, good.
Okay. And then is everyone receiving their correspondence? Yep, seems good. All right. So our next meeting will be December 6th at noon. All right, and now is there any other questions, comments, concerns before we leave off? Nope. Okay, so can I have a motion to adjourn? Sarah, and then seconded by, is that Angela? Yeah, okay, perfect. All right, now resolve that this committee now adjourn at 12:41.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great day.